Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My directors have moved me. It's been an amazing conversation. I hope you all agree. There's been a lot to learn from learning to listen and reflect and observe to um, being a spoon. There's so much to take in from everything we've heard today. So I like how we've transitioned from um, Mr. Nelson talked about being in employment and just being relevant overall, and Charles came and even cemented that further. And you would agree with me that as Christians, it's not enough to just exist. There has to be that excellent touch, that differentiates us from the rest. So basically, the next session we're going into is just how to be excellent, how to go from being ordinary to being extraordinary. Like, there are things that we've been doing maybe in our careers that don't seem to be bringing the results that we expect. And this session is just to help us maximize all of that. I like how Charles talked about the people of old, from David, because when you think about these people, you wonder what time they even had to reinvent themselves, to rebrand. When Charles was saying all this, I'm like, what time did he have? And what am I doing in my life? So there's so much more that we can be doing. I think that, so I was reading Matthew 5 a while ago, and most times when I'm reading the Bible and I want it to make sense for that, I read it in Pidgin English so that I can relate to it. And Matthew 5:13 basically says, "Now na be salt for this earth. But if salt no get taste, how it go be for people mouth?" So if you're in the world, but you're not bringing that extra, as a Christian, then, you're not different from the rest. And you can't shine that light of God's word to other people. Anyway, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce my panelists. First on the list is someone we know in-house very well, and Charles has already made reference to him, Pastor Gbenro Ogundipe. Pastor Gbenro currently serves as the head of administration at Catholic Relief Services, CRS, providing leadership and oversight in the facilities, protocol, front desk, and IT departments. In addition, he is part of the board of Aspilos Foundation and an associate pastor at the Baptizing Church, Abuja. Please make welcome our one and only Pastor Gbenro, who we call PG. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, so our next guest is very special. Even from the name, it's special. So her name is Toingrick Byanyiko, and she's the CEO of Elevator Craft. She's the founder of Elevation Craft, a people management company and an employability skills trainer who has collaborated with international and indigenous organizations to empower over 3,000 Nigerian youths with employability skills. She has over a decade of experience in talent acquisition and is an internationally certified HR professional. Please make welcome Toingrick Byanyiko.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, so it's great to have you both here, and I know that a lot of us are used to aspiring to perspire, to maguire, all those things, and we don't want to do that anymore. We want to know practical tips on how we can move forward, how we can hit the ground running at this point. So I'll start with you, PG. I would say, how did your career start, and what are some practical tips that you think have been instrumental to where you are today?
Praise God. I know it's a business summit, but praise God. Awesome. Okay, so I've told this story a number of times. So almost everyone who knows me knows the story of how I got into tech. But I'll tell it again with emphasis, and I'll try to highlight a number of things. A couple of weeks ago when we were doing the testimony, I taught us the STAR method for interviews. How many people were in church? How many people remember it? So the STAR method is situation, task, action, result. So when people tell stories, they tell you the situation, they tell you the task that was facing them, the actions they took, and the results they received. My story won't follow that. So I'm just telling you now so that you don't attack me later. But here's what happened. So I finished university. All of us, typically in Nigeria, your career path is you go to secondary school, go to university. But the funny thing about me is that most things that are easy seem to be hard for me. In old church terms, they call it generational curse. It's not. But it's just that I have to work harder at a number of things. So when I finished school, I did actually very well. My wife doesn't like me telling this part. I was one of the people in my set who passed English. Yeah. Some people had to go retake in another school. So I passed, Sha. That's the point of that story. So, but when I finished, I couldn't get into uni. And so I didn't get into uni. I now went to Ife to do a diploma. I did a diploma. I still couldn't get into uni. I now went into Ado Ekiti to do sociology. Finished in sociology. Top 3 in my class. I think I was number 2. The only person who beat me was a pastor. And I believe it's because he was closer to God than me. But awesome time, finished school. It's time to go for NYSC. I go to the board. My name is not on the board. So I go back to the school and ask them, what's going on? They say, after you started, WAEC canceled the results you used to enter. You see that? It's interesting, have you? So I wrote to WAEC. What happened? They said, they cheated in my center now. And they said I should come. So I went to WAEC, threatened to sue. They took me to a big room with plenty lawyers. They said, those are our lawyers. They don't have work. So sue if you want to sue. But if you are serious about resolving this problem, you should write to us telling us you made life decisions based on the result before we canceled it. So when you explain like that, we will revalidate the result. So I did that. The point of all that is that for 2 years, I was trying to resolve that problem. In those 2 years, I went to Bible school, and I started working in an IT company. So those 2 years of waiting to go to serve was the period when I got involved in IT at all. And that's how my career in IT started. So at the end of the 2-year process, I got posted to serve. Now, you remember that I said my own things are always a little bit different, right? So I got to NYSC. My uncle had arranged for them to post me to Policy and Strategic Studies, an offshoot of the National Assembly. I get there, what's the word now? They rejected me. Why did they reject me? My uncle that works there is a pastor. So when they want to steal money, he doesn't allow them. So once they heard that I'm linked with him, they say, I should come and be going. And they are getting more. So I left, and I started looking for other roles. Interestingly, my uncle now said, Shebi, they rejected you where I'm working. Let's look at NGOs. So he took me for 3 NGO interviews. The first one was Action Aid. Most difficult interview I've done in my life. Took a whole day. In the end, they took me and 2 women. And then I served with Action Aid. And then that led me, so in that role, I was more IT. From there, I went to the bank for 2 months after service. It was horrible. Please don't try it. Then I came back to the NGO sector and started working with Catholic Relief Services. I have been with Catholic Relief Services for 18 years, thereabouts now. In that time, I have worked as IT guy, network administrator. Then I got a regional role that allowed me to work across Central Africa. So I became the Regional Information Systems Advisor for CARO, for all of Central Africa. Then in 2017, there was a huge problem in Nigeria. I helped them solve it. The Nigeria team wrote to my boss and said I should come work with them. And so I came back to join them as head of protocol and public relations. After 3 or 4 months, they changed it to head of admin, which is the role I'm doing. But basically, the point of all this story is that I was a generalist. So I know a little bit about almost everything. So I get into arguments with all the experts all the time. I like to tease, what's his name? Yes, Minister Marx, that if they leave me, I'll be a lawyer as well, because I read a lot. But certain things are constant that will stand you out in any career situation. Number one, you have to learn to listen. Read and listen. Read and listen. Number two, you need to be authentic. Don't pretend, don't form. When they were doing the interviews for the regional position, they were looking for someone who had a certain number of skills, a certain number of years of experience, someone who spoke French, and I think those were the key factors. There was somebody who was from Congo. We had exactly the same skills, and he spoke French. But one thing that had happened is that everybody on the regional team had visited Nigeria before. So when they came to Nigeria, I would help them solve problems. And we would just gist. Some of them I would buy food for. Some of them, we were just relating realistically. When they were deciding, they came to a team of the regional people and said, who do you want? The Congolese guy who speaks French or the Nigerian guy who does not speak French? And everybody unanimously said me. And so that authenticity of who you are, the points I'm trying to make with all this is, you are a Christian. Your Christian worldview must reflect in everything you do. So it does not matter if it's a very restrictive place or it's a very free place. The identity of being a Christian must show. When people see that, the biblical answer is that they will glorify your Father in heaven. But another byproduct is that they want to be where you are. Praise God.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for PG. One thing we can appreciate from his story is the consistency and just that perseverance, and he's evolved through different sectors. So he's not remained stagnant. He's basically improved himself over time, and that's something that I think we can take from what he has said. So, Mrs. Toyin, our HR expert. Since we're thinking about rebranding, I'm sure there are people who want to probably change careers or are looking to diversify. So, what are common mistakes and key tips one should consider when putting together a CV and applying for jobs? Like, what are those things that are important, and what are the things that are not? Should we put our local government so that, you identify us that we're from the same place, and then, what are things that are really important on a CV?
Praise the Lord. Let me start the way he started. Thank you. So, I like to liken a CV to a key. The job, that thing people say, get your foot in the door. So that company, that industry, wherever it is you want to go to, there's a door. And your CV is the key that can open that door. You need to see your CV as, I think your CV partners with the Holy Spirit. Yes, because it can go to places you've not gone to. So you have to be very deliberate and intentional about that tool. It's something a lot of us take for granted. Another thing again is you have to understand that recruiters are human beings. And every recruiter, born again or not born again, has biases. So first of all, you need to take out anything that would make that person discriminate against you. So apart from your name and your surname, that section that we call biodata has to go. It doesn't work anymore. There are people that don't like Kogi people because they think Kogi people are wicked. Sorry. No, I'm just practically. I know somebody that said the first time she saw me, she thought I was Igbira and she just hated me. Yes. And she says it to my face. Or, you know that thing Nigerians call breakfast. Imagine the last breakfast you chopped was from someone from Kafanchan. And then you put your state, your local government, your village. You will collect the breakfast that you did not serve. So take out all those things. Your gender, marital status. There are people who do not want to work with marriage. Immediately they see, they think, now wow, this person will come and give birth to children here. Like, this is what goes through people's mind. Then, even in regards to, like, age, there are times you're so competent, and then someone sees that you are young. And then they start thinking about how they can't respect you or something. And then there are people who are elderly, but you're mature and you're really cool. Someone sees that you graduated how many years ago, you're 18 years older than them, and they think you're going to be. So all these things come to play, so take that out. Secondly, I recommend that you take out, there's what we call profile summary. Back in the day, we used to write career objective. I'm a strong, dedicated, resilient, passionate problem solver with the ability to work under pressure. I pay attention to detail. That does not work anymore. Right now, what's happening is your profile summary. And your profile summary is, as the word says, it's a summary at the top of your CV that summarizes everything about you. It should make life easier for you, like straight to the point, someone looks at that place before going down. But a nice, I would have said a badly written profile summary, but you can write the profile summary well, but it will still play against you. Yes, because if I'm looking for, say, a project manager, and I go to your CV and your CV, the first thing I see on your profile summary is I'm a procurement officer. I've checked out. I'm out. I'm looking for, and it's possible that if I go through your CV, you've been doing projects too, projects that I need, but your summary is meant to make life easy for me. And the first thing I see is you're calling yourself something else, because it is what you identify as that you put forward first. It's what matters to you that you put forward. So you have told me you are procurement, I will leave the CV. So what I recommend is nobody will disqualify your CV for not having a profile summary. But a properly written profile summary can still play against you. That means you have to modify it per job. So to me, just take it out. It would help you. It's good. But if you can't modify it all the time, just take that section out. The next thing your CV should have is a section for your accomplishments. Now, you can either have a section for accomplishments or you can put it under each job. But I recommend it is a full section because recruiters are always in a hurry. And chances are you put that the accomplishments or achievements under the description of whatever job function. So before you get to that, or before the recruiter gets to that point, they may have missed that and just moved on. And then make sure that the achievements or accomplishments speak to the kind of level, to your level. Imagine you're looking for, say, a managerial role, and your accomplishment was, I set up the Excel sheet for something, something. Come on. That does not speak seniority. Like, it should speak to some strategic problems you solved, yes. It should speak to something you set up. It should speak to how you helped them meet some numbers. Make sure that you put, if you can, right? Yes, put the numbers. And then you can also put the maybe like, oh, in Q2, like duration that you did all of that. And yes, then you should also have your competencies. Your competencies should speak to the job that you're applying for. A lot of us go online and just get general competencies, general skills, and then general, say, computer skills, but it should speak to your job. So as a HR person, some of my competencies are talent acquisition, performance management, organizational development, change, stuff like that. Customer service is important, but it shouldn't be the top thing on my CV. For project people, you might have things like stakeholder management, things around budgeting and all of that, change management. So let your competencies speak to the role and make sure you can defend it. There was someone was telling me about a guy that brought his CV, and then he had all these nice things on his CV. He had 10 years of experience. And when they started asking him questions, the guy had just graduated. Like, yeah, so he took somebody's CV and just put his name, right? Or I've seen cases where in an interview, somebody says they're a problem solver, and you ask them, what was the last problem you solved? And they are looking at you like, or you say your hobbies are reading. What was the last 2 books you read? You cannot say anything. So whatever you put, make sure you can defend it. Your soft skills should also speak to the role. And then computer proficiency. This is something I joke about. But for real, like, the world is talking all this big stuff, AI, generative, like all these big words, and Nigerians, we're still asking you if you can use Microsoft Word and Excel. So computer proficiency, customer service, project management, they are project management tools. It would be good to portray you can use that. I'm sure if you come to pharmacists, medical people, like almost every field has like the tools that you use to automate that process. Show that you know how to use these tools. And if you don't work in a place where you can gain access to those tools, let me give you a 419 method. It's not a 419 method, but it's a method that will make you say the truth. What do I mean? Almost every tool, Trello, Asana, almost every tool has a trial version. Are you aware? And most of all of these tech tools, when you go to their YouTube, they do tutorials. Some of these companies even pay influencers to do free tutorials on how to use it. What I tell people is watch those tutorials, install the free version, play around with it at home. Once you, in fact, you can even give yourself some personal targets. Use the free version to do those things, and then you put it on your CV. Do you know how to use it, or you don't know how to use it? Did you lie? No, you did not lie. That's a very easy way for you to know how to use those tools. Then you come to your job, your place of experience, you put where you've worked. Everything on your CV should have the most recent place or education before the older things. So you put that on your CV, and then just put key summaries, right, that speak to the job that you are applying for. If you know you have dual roles, say I'm a HR and an admin. If I'm applying for an admin role, I would write that description in a way that it speaks more to admin things. If it's the other way, you flip it around. The next thing you should have is summary of your education. Some people separate the title of maybe you write BA this differently, then put the school. Please don't do that. You have to keep your CV really summarized. So put your education, you can add your certifications in there to just make it easy. Just write your maybe certifications and education or something like that. Put the most recent. And then if you're one of those people that, there are people that like learning. They just take all like trainings. If you give, you're like that, good. Now, mostly when you're just starting, I recommend that you streamline your education to suit what you're applying for. You're looking for a job, only you project management, only you HR, only you CRM, only you political science, only there are some things that looks like you're like this guy is still confused. And every recruiter wants to think that this job you're applying for connects with your futuristic plans. So try to streamline even your education to suit what you're applying for. And then the next thing should be your references. You can put your references or you can put available on request. Now, as ridiculous as this sounds, at an event like this, a recruiter said if she does not see references on your CV, she's going to assume you're not a serious person and she's just going to throw that CV away. So, as I said, recruiters are human beings. So maybe you might want to put that in there. The major thing I would say is make sure you put your best foot forward. If you're trying to transition career paths, for instance, let's say you've been doing a lot of work in one field, and because you're trying to transition, you've invested a lot of money in acquiring knowledge, certifications, a master's degree, something, and your education makes you more suitable for the thing you're trying to apply for. Your education, the section of your education should come before your experience. All the things that make you the most suitable, like that makes you, like that sells you more for that opportunity should be the things that you put forward. Then lastly, package the CV. That's why you should submit your CV in PDF format. Imagine someone opens your CV and there are errors all over the place. Bullet points, you know there are the square bullet points. Some places have square, some places have circle, some places have asterisk. And then you say you pay attention to detail. You're contradicting yourself. You get, some places the formatting starts here. You go to this other place, it starts there. So these are things that can disqualify you. So mostly when I'm looking for things like maybe people that will do admin work, or I'm looking for a business developer, immediately I open your CV. I don't care where you've worked. Why? Because you're meant to sell yourself. How can I trust you to sell my brand when you can't even sell yourself? So that's something people take for granted. They prioritize the content and then they are careless about the presentation. No, package your CV. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think there's so much to take in from your answer, but we have a number of questions actually. And what I'm going to do going forward, so we maximize time, is to merge some of these questions together because they're quite similar. And I know you've spoken to some of this, you've like generally answered, but more specifically now, I'd like to ask both of you, either of you can answer actually. What are, as active recruiters, what are essential soft skills to succeed in the role? And what are some of the reasons why people have failed interviews you've been on?
Should I go? Okay, so soft skills vary according to the role, but there are some soft skills that you cannot negotiate. For instance, communication. I tell people, whether we like it or not, private sector culture in Nigeria is packaging culture. We love packaging because, come on, you want to project a certain image. So, not communicating properly, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the way you dress. A lot of people take for granted online interviews. And what people don't understand is it's harder for you to ace online interviews. Do you know I've interviewed people online where, you know that couch some of us have in our room where we keep the clothes that shouldn't make it into the closet? You know you've worn it and you want to wear it again, so you don't want to hang it. I've interviewed people that sat on that, like someone, she sat on that, yeah. You know, so you have to be intentional about what you communicate. I want to say something. A lot of us did not have the privilege to grow up in, like to have a very solid foundation. And it's not a sin, it's not bad not to have had that good foundation, maybe where you went to a very good school, spoke good English. But it is wrong for you not to try to fix it. You can't speak English, you are listening to Wazobia. They can't shoot the man Bekete, they can't shoot the man Bokoto. Why are you, no, it's, I have a sibling that suffered this thing. She was always, I promise you, me like this. I had a sibling that would come, Mama Fide, waiting is job today. I'm like, what's wrong with you? And it started out like a joke. When she entered the university and she was seeing the kind of guys she wanted to date, following all those girls that are saying, Raphael, hello, what's up? And she's there. You want to speak Bagam? So during COVID, this my sister was reading the dictionary as if she was reading the Bible. And I'm happy to say that her vocabulary improved. Stop watching Selena Tested. Oh, send me the Azar. Say all those kind. Leave that. You go collect water. It's a joke. No, but honestly, until you get to a place where you need to speak well, these are the things that sell you. That's the truth. These are the things that sell you. I know that NGOs are more focused on like the problem you can solve. But not all of us can work in the NGO space. There are some of us that are getting the contracts with the NGO. Mrs. Yemisi here trains with me. So if you come and work with us and you put it on your CV that you worked on that project, it's still promoting your GP now, your social GP, right? So you need to focus your communication, your presentation, very, very important. And then your ability to solve problems. Don't be lazy mentally. Some of us only want to do what everybody is doing. Respectful. Do you remember when everybody was doing phone call? This phone call business of before. Even POS, everybody can do it. Don't be mentally lazy. Invest. Show that you can solve. Yes, you can think and you can solve problems. So these are like basic skills that I believe like almost. And then computer proficiency. It cannot be overemphasized. Many people are looking for remote jobs. You have a laptop, you're only using it to watch film. Korean love film, as I joke. But let me ask you, if you get a remote job, how do you intend to? You know that these remote jobs, they use technology to communicate. The meetings you will have, the project management tools, the tax management tools, that's not Microsoft Word and Excel. That's another level of tech savvy. So you even have to be technology, like tech savvy to earn in dollars, yes, and all these aspirations we have. So these are basic of basic right now. Did I answer everything? Thank you.
Allow me to just buttress your last point about laziness.
Yes.
I think most people that I have interviewed in the last year, the people who failed, it's the lack of commitment, the lack of focus. You can't send one CV to 100 companies. And I know that it feels like work, but you are jobless. This is the work you should be doing. So focus on the work that you should be doing at the point in time. If you don't have work, make 100 CVs. Make them. So when they ask you for the one for HR director, you send. HR manager, you send. HR officer, you send. It's same you, but you have different grammar. Minister Nelson mentioned something. She also mentioned there are things they expect at certain levels. When you are writing your CV, you write, as somebody who is trying to be an officer, I pack all the rice after people finish eating. As the manager, you are in charge of organizing feeding for the event. As the director, ensuring staff satisfaction with incentives around this and that. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can't just send one CV. If you send the director one as an officer, they will say you can't employ this person. This person is not serious. So it's that lazy, and it translates to real life. It's not just the way you submitted your CV now. Just let me prove myself. When you get there, your laziness will still show. I was speaking to Sister Buki. Somebody we know went for an interview. The guy knew all the answers. So if we are scoring him answer only, he will score 100%. Now, he now sat down.
Yeah.
So that's the answer now. And he was talking like this throughout the interview. Nobody took him seriously. The same thing carries on around everything. How you dress, how you speak, how you... Like she said, it's packaging. Package the one that will get you the job. Yes. Don't diminish your chances by being lazy. I think that's the only way to say it. Thank you.
Please, a round of applause for them. I mean, even if you want to be lazy, at least package well. Do you understand? Because I think that even takes some effort, you know. Anyways, now I'm going to merge two other questions as well, and I know we've talked about being lazy, but now we're talking about people who have been, maybe they were not lazy, but they've been out of work for a long time, or they've taken a break for whatever reason. How do we make a comeback? You know, and for someone who is maybe they feel they need to be a tech bro now, you know, they want to move into tech. How do they transition? Like, maybe not tech, it can be any other industry. How do I transition from where I'm at, maybe from NGO into finance, whatever it is?
Okay, so let me start with how to transition to a new field. One of the best ways to transition to a new field is start by acquiring knowledge. But I would like to recommend, let me start from the top. Anything you want to start, and even, of course, we are Christians, so you have to pray about it and press into God. But even if you were not a Christian, you need to research. You need to be sure that that field is for you. You need to understand yourself. Just as what Mr. Nelson said you want to do business and you don't like talking to people. I remember a retreat we did, and the customer service lady said she doesn't really like people disturbing her. They ask her too much questions. You are not ready. So before you even go into that field, you need to understand yourself. And you need to even be sure that it aligns with your values, with your person, and with your destination, the goal. Don't jump into it because it's fetching everybody money. Secondly, you need to go and do your finding, because there are some jobs that people have invested in Nigeria, but we don't have jobs for those fields. An instance I heard, though, please, if you're learning it, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I heard that there are a lot of data analysts in Nigeria right now that are looking for work. It's because we will get there, but we are at a point where we don't have a lot of job opportunities for data analysts. That's the truth. So you also have to be sure that there are these career opportunities and all of that. Then you do a lot of learning. Learning takes money, but there are lots of there are sites where you can get free trainings. Start with that. When you put it on your CV, you know I spoke of the education. When you put it, don't put in bracket free training. No, nobody needs to know. Nobody needs to know. Put it on your CV. Then you need to start small. As a recruiter, I can tell you for free that one of the biggest hindrances I have witnessed when it comes to career transition is that many people don't want to pay the price. I've seen bankers. There was this lady I interviewed. She was working in the bank. She wanted to switch to HR. She had done a fundamental thing, which was good. She had been volunteering in a HR consulting firm. So she had a lot of valuable knowledge and like some experience she had acquired that would be good for the level that we were looking to employ her for. In the bank, she's a big person. But for this new sector, she was junior. Because there's what we call relevant experience. Relevant experience. So she didn't have the relevant experience. Will you believe that because of 50,000 naira, she rejected that job? She wasn't willing to take a pay cut. I think she was earning 300 or something, and this one was a 250,000 naira take home. And this was before COVID, and she rejected it. So after you have learned, there are people around you that let me see, we have business owners here. Meet them. What's up? I want to volunteer. I want to help you. And when you go to volunteer, don't act like this person is your church member. Leave church member in the church on Sunday. Dress well. Go there. Be serious. If the person says, we don't have the budget for this, negotiate. Can I come 2 times a week? Can I do it online? Take it seriously and put it on your CV. There's somebody from TNE, a project I worked with. This lady had volunteered for 3 years. A company I was recruiting for needed somebody to do a trainee role, 70,000. She was like, she would do it. She was excited. Do you know when she went, she was too solid. They moved her to a different job of over 200,000. This Nigerian startup act that this NEET dies, that was what the job that they were giving her to do project management on that. So you need to pay the price when you're trying to transition. Then there's a different bit to that question. Sorry. Yes. Yes, and then if you've had a break, I am not a proponent for this discrimination against people because they have gaps. I dislike it because people are going through a lot. Women are having children. However, I recommend that even when you're taking a break, I recommend that you find a way to still do something. It can even be a training. Of course, you won't do that learning every day. And then you can put it on your CV, right, that you did that thing. Another thing again is, people are beginning to really accept freelancing. If there was something you were doing, you can say you did that freelancing for 5 years, provided it's not a lie. Even if you did something once a month, did you do it or you did not do it? You did it. So there are some things we take for granted. Someone reached out to me yesterday that she had not worked in 10 years. I said, in 10 years? No, that she has been looking for a job and her CV was blank. So I was like, you've not worked in 10 years? She said, well, I've been doing some research papers for Agri. I'm like, put it on your CV. So there are some things we do that we take for granted. Package it and put it on your CV.
Praise God. Thank you so much. You covered everything I had in mind. One thing I want to add is that church experience counts. So if you are in a unit in church, media is one of the easiest to transition skills. You know photography. You know how to record. You know how to edit video. No, this is not a marketing ploy to get you to church. But listen, those are things that you can put on your CV as skills you have. The second thing is, as a church, we look at a period of waiting as a period of preparation. We have taught this many times. So because you don't have what you want yet, you have to be preparing for what you want. So you need to be investing. You need to be training. And I love how Toingrick, right? Toingrick, how she put it. Please, don't waste your time. Use the time you have to get the skills that will help you. So a period of preparation, I think Pastor Dele always quotes Abraham having 300 trained men. He didn't train them the day he was looking for the war started. He had trained them beforehand. So that by the time people said they are fighting, say let's go. You must have the skills already. You must consistently build it. The second thing is, she had mentioned that some skills are rare. Some weeks ago, I went and met the chairman of the NDPC. It's a new commission. It's called the National Data Protection Commission. He was telling me that certain roles, there are less than 25 people in the world that know it. So that once they train somebody, big people come and hire them from Nigeria. So there are skills that you need to learn. Data protection, stuff like that. Nobody is doing it. And if you learn it, it's not only relevant. It's like Bro Charles' daddy said, be a spoon. Have the skills that is relevant in any part of the world. I think that's all. She covered everything else.
Okay, please a round of applause for our panelists. Yeah, a lot has been said. We've actually run out of time. Something that has stood out for me, and I think is important to emphasize, is not to underestimate or underrate any work, regardless of how small, because every experience counts. I wish we had time. I've shared some stories, but one teaching that was very important for me in church this year was the meaning of work, because we started our year with it, and I think God spoke to me through that series. And one of the things that Pastor Tokpe said was, as maybe like a woman or a mother, there's a tendency for you to feel like you've missed out on life because maybe you've paused your career to take care of children. And I'm saying this because as somebody who works in international student recruitment, I see a lot of ladies who come to, they want to go and study abroad. And, okay, bring out your CV, let's look at it. And there's this embarrassment around the fact that they've been raising children. I'm like, that's major project management, you know. So I feel like don't underestimate it. There's a lot of work that goes into raising children. Find a way to talk to a career specialist to know how to package your CV. And the thing about people abroad is they really value these things. For us
It's
here,
called early stage development management.
PG, thank you. So for us, it's easy to underestimate and say just that, but for them, it's major. You know, the fact that you've taken, you're not idle. You're not just doing nothing. You're doing something very important. So I'm not sure how we got to the point where we've belittled some jobs over others. Yeah. So on that note, it's time for questions, and I'm sure there's been a lot said, and you have questions. So question and answer. Wow, okay, I can see like 5 hands.
Okay, I have a question, but I'll wait.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for this very insightful panel. So I just asked Toingrick, we've looked at this panel from the viewpoint of the employee. Somebody wants employment. Could you also talk to us who are business owners, who try to raise a team? Are there things we should look out for? What from your experience, are the mistakes, particularly that smaller businesses make in trying to employ and raise a team that perhaps would be of benefit to us? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So one of the biggest mistakes I would say I've noticed, which is why I started Elevation Craft, is that I noticed that a lot of small business, if not just small business owners, I think this is a problem generally in Nigeria. We focus on our product, we look for money, but we take for granted the people that we are going to work with. Like, I've seen organizations that when you see their work, you're like, wow, this is awesome. And then you realize the company is like a one-man business. I'd say that, there are places that they are markets. They are a market, but they make people wear suits. Like, that one is not an office. You don't know what they are doing. And then you hear that they've existed for 30 years, and they are still where they are. You know that if they handled their people management better, everything would be better. So I think we need to prioritize that. The second thing that is really disappointing is the process of recruiting people. Some of us just bring our friends, our family, just bring people anyhow. You don't recruit people. I trust him, let him start. Just do it anyhow. You understand? Like, we need to stop that. Thirdly, many of us focus on packaging. Like, when people go to your website, your graphics, your messaging, like, outside, people value your business, but you don't even package it to your staff. No employment letter, no employment documentation, no nothing. Everything is RAS. That's how they will treat your business. Yeah, that's the truth. Because let's be honest, even we married couples, you tell us, oh, continue to do your hair for your husband. Continue to do your this for your wife. You need your stomach to be flat. So what makes you think that even couples that need to value like that packaging, why do you think your employees would not take your business for granted? So even the way you present your business, and then you need to be particular about your culture. You can't, like, you have to be deliberate. What do you want the vibe of the place to be like? And don't look at Google and say, I want it to be like Google. No. There's a reason why Google is the way it is. See, no matter what your values are as a person, there are people who will work with you. There are people, do you know, there was a company I worked at, we did voting. There were people that said they don't want remote work. They said they want to stand up and come to the office every day. Yes. If the way you want to run your business is that you want it to be 5 days a week, 8 to 5. Be consistent with your processes, be consistent with your policies, with your culture, and there are people who will work with you. But let your yes be yes. Be deliberate about what you are creating, and have it at the back of your mind that you can't be everywhere every time. Those are the people who will represent you. So be deliberate about everything that concerns them. So that's my advice for an employer from a people management point.
Thank you so
much. So we have people joining us online, and some of them have sent in questions. So I have about 4, but I'm sure that we can just answer them briefly. So you mentioned about taking out your local government, your age, your gender. What if the job description mentioned those things? So if they say, I'm looking for a woman this age to this age, is that enough reason for you to put that on your CV because that speaks to the job? So that's question number 1. Then the second question, okay, the person said, in my late 20s, built a generalist career and earning close to $1 million, but I feel like I do not have career progression or have set the right foundation for my career. What can I do next? Then the third one is to Ms. Toingrick. You've done really well in your business. What are key things that has contributed to your growth? And then the last one is, how do you know what to transition into, especially if you've been out of work for a bit? I'm guessing there are so many options of things that a person can do. So how can you decide, oh, this is what I should definitely be transitioning to? I don't know if you can remember all my 4 questions.
Okay. A couple of things stand out. I'm trying to look at what I wrote. Let's start back from the point of we are Christians. And that worldview is our worldview. So even from the question of how should leaders treat their staff, make those values need to show. Like you said, keep consistent messaging. It has to go into the day-to-day. So now, you are changing career, or you want to change career. One of the key things that you have to do is you need to be at the top of your game where you are already. Those skills can transfer. And I'm speaking specifically to the person who said they're a generalist, because that's kind of my story. Those skills can transfer. Anywhere you go, your faith will shine through. Your consistency, your ability to listen, your empathy, your honesty. They know that when you say this thing is 1 naira, it is 1 naira. One of the biggest challenges a lot of people have when working with the NGO sector is ethics and returning change. If they tell you in the office, go and buy battery, we have priced the battery is 20,000. They give you the 20,000. You now go there, the person is from your village in, you said Kogiabi. So he's from Kaba. You now tell the person that this thing can go less. Now they sell it to you for 15. Now, if you don't take that 5,000 naira difference back to the office, 1, you are not a Christian. 2, you are not a good employee. So, and those things count, whether in small or in big. If you are not faithful in little, true riches will be avoiding you. So now bring that into a generalist, right? You feel you have missed your career and all that. Don't benchmark yourself against anybody else. Something I was discussing recently, I think I said it again to someone this morning, is the devil's plan. A lot of the time we think, you have an accident. That was the devil. You had this. We think it's the big things. But the devil's plan is to separate you from God. And so, when you are beginning to try certain things, you want to jackpot, for example, right? But if you jackpot, you will become an atheist because your needs will be met, right? So you don't pray that much again. And you begin to question, does God really exist, and all those kind of things. The devil will help you to jackpot. The person that you will meet, the person that will help you, all your documents will be complete, you will go. So when it doesn't work out, be able to understand a bit that it is God at work in your life, helping to lead. It will lead you where you should go. So we are not under pressure to try and meet any other person's standards. Around work, be consistent, listen, be empathetic, have the right skills for your job. I know administrators that don't know how to use mail merge. Do you know how to, if you know how to use mail merge, raise your hand. Look around the hall. Please, just look around. Okay. So, a lot of people are wondering what is male march. After this meeting, go and Google male march. There's nobody who does any kind of administrative work that should not be using it. Do you understand what I'm saying now? And so it doesn't matter that you are at the beginning of your career or you are the top pinnacle. You should know the basic skills of making work efficiently. Praise God.
Okay, just to add to what he said. So I know somebody that was the executive assistant of a senator. That senator had a successful private business. And she was a born-again Christian, but she had times when she was earning very good, almost $1 million. This was a good boss. So there were times when this senator would get prostitutes, and she would be the one to have to settle those girls. She would be going to pick up, she had to be exposed to a lot of things that were contradicting her faith. And after working with this man for 6 years, she got to a point where she was discouraged and she felt like, I can't continue like this. So what she started doing was, while she was working with him, she started investing in, because of course, executive assistant, for lots of people, there's no career growth, long term. So she had to start investing, and because of the industry, she wasn't doing projects or things that she could really transfer. So she started investing in a different career path. And after doing that for a while, she started looking for a junior role, and she was able to get a junior role, and she took a painful pay cut. But that was the price she had to pay to salvage her spirituality, her relationship with God, her conscience. You understand? So for somebody who you're earning almost 1 million, I don't know what your situation is and why you feel like you're not experiencing that career growth, but you might want to identify something else. You need to plan financially, invest in the alternative path, and then look for a way to switch. You can start with volunteering for a consulting firm or something. Then in regards to how I succeeded, there are people that, just as she said, aspire to perspire, misspire. I started with one feather. That was not my case. My case was, I was working full-time, and as I said, I noticed there were lots of businesses, small businesses, that were not managing their people well, and I started doing this as a side hustle. The first time I consulted, my money was meant to be 600K. They paid me 60K. See joy. I was so happy. For ripping me off, but I was happy. Then it got to a point where I said, let me just register a company to document the work I was doing. So I registered Elevation Craft, still full-time. Then I decided to start doing this because when the economy is bad, it's an employer's market. There are limited jobs, so everybody's doing go now, So a lot of work cultures became toxic. So I had to focus on just turn my side hustle to my main job. Well, 2018 was tough. 2019 picked up, things were going well. Then during COVID, Lord Jesus. So I realized that I was focusing so much on expertise and I was poor in business. I don't know why people didn't come for this program. See, when Mr. Nelson was speaking, see, sir, you are who you think you are. As in, no, because I was like, what is this man saying? So that is a mistake I picked. That I realized that I had focused so much on delivering good HR services and all. And then another thing I realized late again, I was doing a lot of work with startups. Those guys cannot pay you. Every time they'll be telling you, I'm a startup. I'm a startup. And when they raise money, they think they are too good for you. And then they pick somebody else. So I have been making these mistakes. I've been re-strategizing. I've been going back. And right now, I'm happy to say that we are still reworking certain things. Everything was good early this year. When the new president became the president, we're like, what's going on? You understand? So if I'm being honest, it has been a journey. It has been a journey like this. Sometimes, when it's good, You want to put, this music that there's this song, I know you, they smell money, they ooze for my body. You want to rock to that song. And then there are some times where you go back and you're like, Lord Jesus, what's going on? So I think for me, the major thing is I keep learning. Yeah. So I keep learning. I try to, a lot of things he said, I've written them down. I try to learn from others. I learn from my experiences. And then don't just be a listener or a learner. Implement the things that you are learning. So these are the major things that God has used to really help us to grow.
Let me take in what you just said before I ask my question. Thank you. So my question is, now that you have the job, you've built skills, your CV is well packaged, you went for the interview, you got the job. How do you get your, because I'm into the administrative and the HR on my work, so I have like a small business that I work with as well. When I was employed, the job responsibility was for me to come because it was a startup. So I was to help them. They have staff already. They have employees already. So I was to help them document employment letter, probably get their tax, pension, and all of that. So got the job, and I got there, and I found out that the Lebanese people, they were not ready to do all what they said. What they outlined in my tax. And when I got there, I was a bit confused, like, what are we doing here? Then why was I employed? So my question is, how do you get your employer to make your job easier? Because most of the staff in the office, they don't have employment letters. They can just walk up to the CEO to ask for loans. Things like that, everything's just scattered, and I'm there. I don't know what to do, so if you can speak more on that. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a statement you made. How do you get your employer to make your work easier? Let's flip it. It is your job to make your employer's work easier. They can't make it. They employed you to bring them relief. So you need to have that mentality that this person might be chaotic, this person is imperfect. And one thing, I listened to Apostle Selman, he says that sometimes very successful people are so difficult. And let's be honest, these people have a lot of, I'm not justifying being difficult, but people at the top have a lot of things on their plate. And then things like employment letter, if you ask me, you can prepare the letter and then you get approval to deploy. So let's say you do the letter and you come and say, oh, sir, I've prepared letters for everybody. You need to confirm, when did this person start? What are their policies, probation, all those things that should be in a letter. And then when you've done it, you know, okay, sir, I've done this. In writing, kindly confirm that I can proceed to give this people their employment letters. Because some employers don't want to give letter because they want to do unethical things. You understand? And if you're working in a place where your boss or your organization wants to do unethical things, you have to leave at a point. You know, there are some people that will say, oh no, you are a problem solver. You can do it all. Yes, you are a problem solver. But you cannot do what the owner of the place does not want. So while you are trying your best to get the person to do the right things, if you notice that you've negotiated here, you've tried there, and the person does not want, you have to leave. Now, here's why you have to leave. If you stay long there, you begin to think like them. You will pick all the bad habits that when you go for an interview, you will not even know that you've picked bad habits. You'll just be saying rubbish. Secondly, the reputation of your organization will precede you. I know somebody that worked in such a bad place. When he went for interview, the CEO looked and said, what? You are coming from this place? Is this the culture you want to bring here? My friend, stand up. And that was it. When he came back and was gisting us, I removed the place from my CV sharply. So that's my recommendation for that.
So anytime I do things at work, I normally share with men of influence. So just yesterday, I shared a book with them. It's called Extreme Ownership. It's something that was developed by people who were Navy SEALs. Navy SEALs are the top tier of the U.S. Army. So, think Commando, think Rambo. You remember those films? those people are Navy SEALs. So in most cases, those people are able to execute at a level higher than most people. Now, what I trained my team on yesterday morning is extreme ownership. Because a lot of the time we are looking at this person did not do right, this person did not do right. You have to take extreme ownership of the things under your control. People go for sobriety classes will say, God help me to know what I can do and it is I don't have control of. The one that is under your control, you have to take extreme ownership of it. So the principles in the book, taking complete responsibility for outcomes and failures under your leadership. So who is supposed to prepare the employment letter? Is you. Prepare the letter, regardless of other factors. As a leader, you must own everything in your world. Refuse to make excuses, refuse to blame others, or rationalize away failure. 2, empower your team and others by clear guidance, support, and resources. Let them do their jobs without micromanaging. Leaders must trust their team and avoid controlling them. Then you have to be strategically aggressive and proactive, making decisive calls even in uncertain conditions. Leaders need to take charge, set an intent for the team, and develop strategic plans. So put those things that you know are lacking in your organization together. Do a PowerPoint. Go and meet your guy and show him. Show him, okay, I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All I need is for you to sign. Be humble and always learn. Leaders admit failures quickly. They take feedback, find lessons, and get better. No matter how much experience you have, you can always improve. Praise God.
A big thank you.
Thank you very much for the session. Just a quick one. You made mention of researching, a certain field you want to go to. Researching a certain field you want to go to, so you don't just do something that is not marketable. So, like the data analysis you talked about, most people, everywhere you hear that is in high demand and all of that. So where exactly can you really go to know, okay, this skill is actually irrelevant or not? Because even on Indeed and LinkedIn and the likes, they list it there that is very applicable. So where can we really go to ensure that we are properly guided? Thank you.
Okay, so you can just go to maybe job boards and just type some of those roles and see how many options. Then you can see the locations where you see a lot of those jobs. Like, I know that in Nigeria, Lagos has more need for data analysts than Abuja, and I know that many people have had to move. Even product management, Lagos has more need for product managers than Abuja. NGOs, you hardly see NGO jobs in Lagos or in Western states. It's mostly in the north. You understand? So you look at the trends. Where are the locations? Are those cities you can go to? And then how many? You can even see the spacing. There are some roles you see that the last time that role was published was 3 months ago. And because many of these job boards don't delete the ads. So you see that maybe they are there, but they are sparse. So that can give you an idea of what to look out for. And then you can even Google, like, when you're checking for jobs on LinkedIn, there are no limitations to location. Like now, I noticed that a lot of the remote jobs that I can do for HR is talent acquisition, recruitment. But when it comes to full talent management, you hardly see opportunities that will hire me all the way from Nigeria. So you look at those trends, the cities, even Canada, there are some jobs that are very popular in some locations, and then in some locations in Canada, you don't see those. So take your time and check all those kind of things so that you know if you should really put your time. And even if it's scarce, as far as you're sure that God has called you to do it, others will struggle, you will get it. So make sure that you work with God, you pray about it, you continue to invest spiritually for Him to give you that direction. Yeah.
Here there's one last question.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to add a little to what Pastor Barrow said to the lady that talked about, okay, no, it's what you said. Okay, you started and then he finished about the lady in the toxic environment. So I'm in a similar situation, But I'm essentially in terms of in the fact that I want to leave my organization to another one, but not because it's toxic, but because it's not filling me in certain areas. And I had a discussion this morning with Minister Nelson. So to add to what he talked about, preparing a PowerPoint presentation, you should also take stock in terms of numbers as to, okay, how many people are leaving the organization, how many, just the areas that there are concerns, take a stock in terms of numbers, so that when you now finally solve the problem, you now have a rating, a matrix. I move from 20% of this to 30% of that, and you're doing it for the next place you're going to. So you may not get results because the place is toxic and because they're trying to do unethical things, but in your solving that problem, you're preparing yourself for the next place. Numbers.
Thank you very much for that very valid contribution. And thank you to our panelists for their time and just their brain in this session. There's so much to take in. Thank you so much. You can. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I feel like that applause was not coordinated. Can we please put our hands together properly? Thank you. Thank you very much.